You gonna stay? We have a kitty. Hello, everyone. If you're catching the replay, welcome. I'm Steve. Mark's not around, and this is Smokey Steve and Mark. Welcome or welcome back, and happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. It is beautiful weather here. Absolutely beautiful. I had to work today, which was not beautiful, but it's like 70 degrees, warm in the sun, chilly nights where you need a blanket. We're getting towards fall, and I'm a real basic bee when it comes to that. I like the fall. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin spice, so I'm not all the way there. But yeah, we're getting there. It's just that time of year. Yeti, hello. Sandra, hello. Lovely to see you all on this lovely day. Yes, Miss McPhoebe, this is the weather love. And it doesn't feel the same. 70 degrees in late summer, early fall doesn't feel like 70 degrees winter coming into spring, summer. It's got a different vibe. Like in the spring, when it's this temperature, the ground is still muddy and mushy and stuff like that. So, yeah, you made it live, Susie Q. Hello. Bill's Mary. Hello. Hello, Christine. Always a pleasure. So yeah, I had a lot of good times. The garden is starting to produce. We're getting a lot of tomatoes, and I've been drying them mostly. So I hope those bugs are dying. Ugh. Evening, Captain Spalt. Meow here, meow there. Finally caught alive, your first one. Well, welcome. Grab a seat. Hang out in the back with the lurkers. Um, so yeah, it was an odd Saturday because I had to work. But aside from having to go into the office, not the office, I had to go to a day fair in a little county, in a little park, in a smaller county. Um, and it was for individuals with special needs and making your resources for your agency available. So we were there, and they had a DJ and some other stuff, and it was cute. It wasn't super well attended. I think there was a provider for every individual who came. But it was cool otherwise. I didn't bring a hat like a dope. I wore it, left it in the agency car, didn't bring it home. So I was trying to cover my head. I put some sunblock on my head because it was high noon and I could feel it getting burnt. And lo and behold, did I get to find out last night or this morning that my coworker's car is out of service. She lives 45 minutes away from me in the different direction than where we needed to go, and I was going to meet her there. It would be a nice 25-minute drive. Round trip, I was in the car for like 3 hours today. Again, beautiful day for a drive. There's worse things to have to do on a nice sunny day, but I was not thrilled. Granted, I took yesterday off because I had the overtime, so thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for being here. Today we're going to catch up with our fair lady Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, The Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, The Chantal Show, Chantal and Sala, which is holding its own, considering what its own was, and a Foodie Beauty yet again. And she had another full week. Crap all over the place. Mayor, hello. Eh, there's people with harder jobs who work longer days. I mean, I have a few gripes here and there about work, but it's still a bad time to be out of work. Sure, everybody's hiring, but they're only paying enough to live in your car. So I'm in a good spot to be in a good place in my career when it's shaky other places too. Money is calming. No, Captain, I didn't see it. It's got 300,000 views, 500,000 views. I forget how many, and it's only been out a couple days. So we're going to take a look at it. I've at this point had Foodie Beauty overload in the last couple days preparing because I didn't have most of today to do it. So um, went through. Long time no see. Hello. I hope you're doing well also. So last week we checked in and we were also live. And just to put it out there, next week we will have a proper video. Chantal and the Elephant Sanctuary. Hi. Oh God. Yeah. Hey Claudia, how are you? Um, I don't know. I haven't heard anything good or bad. I remember Canadian Horror Story wasn't too bad. I remember thinking while watching it though, you'd have to on some level be very into a person even if you hated them to make a documentary like that. That's sifting through. I don't go through our own inventory as often as I'd have to go back and find evidence. And the thing is though, she's kind of known to be flaky among other things. So it doesn't need to be pointed out, but when you line it up all next to each other in a 2-hour span, she looks like a monster. Her most monstrous moments are usually what make it. So last week we were live. She ended the week with a boil. Kat saying allegedly she had a boil on her leg, and she went to a Thai hospital to get it looked at. And she went back and forth between saying it's completely healed and that she has to go back every couple days for them to address it, probably because she can't. I can understand her not being able to pack a wound on her own. That's not what they expect from all of us medically. So I'm not going to fault her for going back if that's what it needed, but it had to have been let go for a little bit of time before it started to show up. Boils, I've been fat. You get boils places. It happens. Things rub together. Things don't get air in all the time. Now, by and large, I think most big folks wash their clothes. But with Chantal and Sala being on holiday, being in Thailand, she said that she's washing their, delegates in the sink, probably. So, well, yeah. Very sympathetic toward Chantal, but left out a lot of her problematic behavior. I'd be happy to take a look at it. I always think it's curious how someone frames, we all have good qualities somewhere, even she does under there. I haven't seen them yet, but I have to believe in something, and that those qualities are there. But they're far outshadowed by her shadiness and dishonesty, and this thing she has where she thinks everyone's jealous of her. Because on everybody's plan is sit in a Kuwaiti apartment for 6 months and then travel somewhere they have to carry me places because I'm too big to move. None of these things gave you instant rage. Oh, we'll see. So she got the boil, and the boil apparently was going to go away. Spiral emotionally? Hang out with here. We are not going to discuss anything important. Nothing relevant. We're going to talk about what this woman I don't know, who's across the world, who's never left her house, is going to tell us, and I'm going to make a day out of it. That's the cold, brutal part of it. So going into this week, this was the end of this, she went to a tiger park, which people had a lot of strong feelings about. She's well-traveled at this point, but we're still in her live rages streams going on about how people must be jealous because any of us with the same options would be happy to do exactly the same thing. Now, what Chantal considers a fair exchange is a little bit different than I think what the rest of us do. But I wanted to touch on it just briefly in a bit because, a lot of us live our lives different ways. And just because someone's watching TikTok at 3 a.m. doesn't mean they don't have a job. It doesn't mean that nobody else has life goals or anything else to do. Like if someone said, I want a Nobel Prize, but have you been to Kuwait? Did you stay in a Kuwaiti apartment for 6 months growing boils? Well, jealous? I don't know. I could have seen more ethical sanctuary. Well, that brings up they had the elephants too, and that was labeled a sanctuary. And I don't know, even people who are not super de-duper against animal stuff, like circus elephants bother me because they look sad. And no natural habitat would match a circus. Not even a mismatched habitat would match a circus. And the idea that the tigers there were kind of lull and distracted and drugged to be docile enough to be around people. If at any second one of those turned over and bit her in the face, they'd kill it. Because it's putting the animal in a situation it's not supposed to be in. It's not supposed to be in that close proximity to people. And so somewhere between being drugged just enough and having animal instincts, somebody's going to get... Happened to Siegfried Roy. I forget which one. But he got all those tigers they raised for years and loved and were docile and they played with. That many years in his career, and he lived, thank God, through that. But, animals are going to do what animals do. So, hey, Gigi. So, well-traveled, the elephant sanctuary, just to touch on that. Filters and other deceptions. Did anyone notice that Sala is getting taller and thinner as the weeks are going on? I think to play catch up with the filters, it makes him look much. He's gonna look like the Nightmare Before Christmas if she keeps that up at this. He'll be too tall to fit in the same frame because you can't shrink her in enough to keep him from going taller. I don't know. There's that. Modesty to respect her husband. Couple times. couple thoughts. Maybe plus size clothing haul. She thinks she's plus size. So, that boil sure did heal pretty quickly. Did it ever exist? She did a live where she hit on some of her major hot topics. She always going to start another channel doing something. This time it was going to be cooking. She'd mentioned adoption briefly. And when she does all this eating is when Salah's asleep. It's like fucking when the parents go to bed, and it's like, okay, he's asleep. What can we do? Let's get online and talk shit before he finds out. Like a kid sneaking away. If Salah has no issue with it, why do we wait till he's asleep to do it? I mean, I could see the privacy, and from listening into the background of them having conversations during the live, like, he's very disinterested in her. She was trying to tell him a joke, and he just wasn't responding at all. Babe, bed. Hey, do you want to hear a joke about hot dogs? That's not going to keep a marriage together. Exchanging jokes about meat is not going to hold it together. I have to say, for whatever arrangement they've had, hello, welcome. Whatever arrangement they have, it must be benefiting one or the both of them enough that it's still going on. Because whether they're married or shacking up, or it's all for show, or to hide his sexuality, or to hide hers, or whatever, they're still keeping it up, and it's been a long time that they've been keeping it up. You're fine, mama. So, whatever this is, it is. It's going to continue to be. Now, people can say, how did you know you were going to love him? You only knew him 2 weeks. And she could point to her marriage as, see, we were right all along. I was right. I was right to marry him within 2 weeks. 4 weeks. And why she was searching the Middle East for boyfriends, or he was searching Canada, is something they can discuss in therapy, I guess. But it's hard to make the argument you found the person exactly who you're looking for when you single-handedly, just target a certain region, a certain type of person. And I can't imagine what Chantal's needs are, and Salah's needs are, and that somehow they're meeting each other. Unless there's somebody else helping out. Unless when he goes camping or does something else, he has other things he'd like to do. I don't imagine he stopped his life for her the way she would stop hers for him. She's never met someone who I've seen, except BB. And BB, she never had anything bad to say about, but he was never on camera. BB was on camera just a handful of times. There was a really cringy Thanksgiving or Christmas kiss that happened, and it was the last holiday BB spent with her and her family. The next time she showed up, she was in a hijab and an abaya. She had that Thanksgiving picture, how she's all in with her costume. So yeah, BB didn't like being on camera, but could you blame him? I mean, Mark and I have it's a couples channel. I guess you could call it. We're a couple and we have a channel and we share it. It's no more ones than the others. But I don't know. I don't flatter myself to think that every moment of the day would be exciting to somebody. And I get that she thinks she's famous, so if she farts in a bag, it should be, put on an altar. Because she can do no wrong. She can do no bad. She just couldn't possibly. Not modest Miriam. Pure as freshly driven snow. So yeah, in that live, she went on this, again and again. Then they went to the Sanctuary of Truth, which looked awesome. Absolutely awesome. This place was steeped in history. The intricacy of the woodwork and the stuff, everything about it looked so great. And the bigger part of it was that Chantal had to take a lift to get to the top of it. It's not because she's delicate. It's not because she's a princess. It's because she's too big. And it's so big, they told Salah not to get in with her. So, when she talks about her weight not getting in the way of things, of her doing things, what would you call that? It didn't get in the way. Of course, you couldn't do it with your husband because you're the weight of 3 passengers. And that would be unkind if it were an exaggeration. But, got to see Chantal in perspective with some other things too. The fact that she's about the width of a adolescent elephant, and that we had a side-by-side comparison, But, so, whatever. So, circling back to where we started, the Tiger Park, okay. Consensus was that it was maybe not the nicest place to go. That, she didn't build the place. She didn't bring it from the ground up. I like French Fried Girl, but she'd have to hustle really hard to get those tigers out of there. So, it's not because I think there was no nefarious feeling towards it, but I used to not like BB. I like BB now. I would take BB over her. I would take BB over Matter. Anything. Anything, definitely. Yeah, BB, once you get to know Chantal a little better, you realize why the people close to her life never want to be on camera with her. Ever. Because everything she touches turns to shit. It's just she's a magnet to it. So, but yeah, BB was just quiet. BB was, and you know what? He probably couldn't get a word in anyway. I think BB was like the easier to just let it go, let her do her thing. It was only when he started getting up to go to work and she was still eating from the night before that maybe some decisions were starting to be made. I think she said that they had broken up, but I suspect it was at best mutual. The fact that BB hung around after cheating, I did too. Like, who are these low self-esteem guys? You're gonna stay with a woman that cheats on you? I mean, she'll stay with a guy that cheats on her because she doesn't care. As long as she can hang her hat on a dick and say it's hers, she doesn't really care what it's attached to, who it's attached to, where in the world it is, what religion it is, how tall. Do you have a job? None of it. She gets, what do they call it, dickmatized? I think that was on Queens of Comedy. It might have been Monique. Nah, not Monique. It was another one. But, yeah, that's, I don't know. She got defensive about the tiger stuff. But I mean, having to say, people felt like they were being mistreated. They were being drugged. That would, and that was not okay. That doesn't let the animal live out the life the way it's supposed to. I will say that no human being should be that close, and if anything does happen, you're petting a tiger. You think people are going to be like, oh God, who would have thought that could come up? Of course it's going to come up. Of course it's going to come up. So, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and it all being involved in cats kind of gets, yeah, Sandra, they looked out of it. They looked relaxed, but there's a difference between relaxed and the heavy nod that the animals would be doing. So, hey Lush, how are you? And her opinion of that also is that because she was there and none of us were there, and nobody else has ever been there but her and thought exactly like her, that the situation didn't look bad, that it was fine. Whatever, I guess, but to go right, I don't know, to go right up to an animal and be able to do that, there's something very humbling about that. There's something very scary about that. But if it was a natural click with animals, that'd be a beautiful thing. But not, I can pet this drugged wild animal and get photos of it. Like it's a piece of sculpture in a museum. So one of the streams she had going on also, as we're coming through the week, is her being well-traveled and the rest of us not being able to travel as much as she is and not being able to do what she wants to do. She generalizes from the part to the whole that her goals and dreams are everybody's goals and dreams, and that people would be jealous to have the life she has. She's carved out a low expectation life where the most exciting thing she did about flying to Kuwait was the flight. Nothing else. We go to Thailand, she's eating at 7-Eleven. So this idea that nobody else in the world, all you had to do was survive the flight. Get a ride from the airplane to the car, get a ride from the car to the place, from the place to the elevator. It's demanding on a large person, but apparently not impossible. She was getting around. So, terribly jealous. Terribly jealous. I wish I could find a man to talk to me the way that Sala talks to her. Like he's trying to give her directions in a city he's not really familiar with. A pox on you. Now I have Johnny McGovern's song Dickmatized stuck in my head. Many apologies. Thank you for the super chat. Many apologies. So she's very worldly and sophisticated because a lot of world travelers are so ill-prepared or so out of shape for walking that they rip a boil, get an infection on her little leg. I think there's a lot of people that like to watch train wrecks like Chantal, and that doesn't mean their life isn't going well. Sometimes funny is funny. And she says it doesn't bother her, so why should I care? She shows that she's upset. She can't help but look for her own profiles online and Google herself and stay up looking for fights and trying to find people to triangulate against. It's just, I don't know. But her being well-traveled and eating at a 7-Eleven and hanging out in the hotel the whole time is not what I would call, like, a lot to envy. Like, there's not a whole, like, staying at the 7-Eleven, like, if I was staying over in a town where, like, in Philly, I was staying on Temple's campus one time for a training, And there's no inn right on campus. And I thought, wow, that'd be pretty good. I can just stay there. And then I wouldn't have to make the commute back downtown for everything, for groceries, for food, for whatever. And they had a 7-Eleven right on campus. So for a couple of the 4 nights I stayed, I went there and got dinner. Now, I lived in Philly for years, and I know where there's good food, and I knew I wasn't eating well at 7-Eleven. It was purely convenience. But I didn't try to pass up the food's really good. I'm not trying to tell you and sell you on 7-Eleven to convince you that I am a highbrow person for eating my meals from there. And that I have the nerve to be snobby about it. When she's like a traveling Western mess, all the way across from one end to the other. She just, as she works her way east, it just gets more and more strange. So that goes, I suppose. Garbage person with money and no one to share it with. Oops, that was meant to be implied. I didn't mean to write that. Or say it out loud. Oh well. So the Elephant Sanctuary, they did go to the Elephant Sanctuary, and I think popular vibe about the Elephant Sanctuary, there was more people that were okay with that than with the lions, we'll say that. But, Chantal's saying a lion looks good. Her assessment of feline health isn't all it could be, really. This from the woman who was getting rid of her pets to travel, bought 2 more, and continued to travel. That's so remarkably selfish. I can't, I'm new to pets. This is my first, I didn't come from a family of them. Bandit was the first cat I've ever lived with. And I'm just, enamored, and I'm looking forward to, because I know they don't live forever, hopefully always having a house filled with love and companionship and all this and that. That was not her relationship with her cats, and it's not how she ended the relationship with her cats. Inconvenience was pretty much the reason that she did it. Immediate inconvenience. So, I don't know. I guess that's her. The Elephant Sanctuary, I like the ideas of it. Safari, maybe I don't know. I'm guessing Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey had a safari as you were driving into it. To me, that's, depending on how that's kept, maybe a little better. Nothing's going to replace it being in the wild because it's a wild freaking animal. So any way to observe it, I would hope would be the least invasive for the animal so that people can see and appreciate, but that the thing isn't trapped. I don't know. People have mixed feelings about zoos, sanctuaries, all that kind of stuff. Different people's lines are different places of what's cruel, what's not. People think fish don't feel pain, so that's fine. I don't know. People have their own unique value systems, I guess. So, let's see. She's filtering her weight gain. We did talk about that. Modesty to respect her husband. Now, Chantal has said that she wears the full everything out of modesty and out of respect for her husband. Okay, her husband. She's covered up to... She could only cover up more if she came all the way up to here, and all we had was this. And I'm sure she would just assume that, too, because I'm telling you, when the hair went, we got a hijab. When the body went, we got the abaya. When the teeth go, we're going to be up to here. We're going to be absolutely up to here. Because her husband insists on it because he doesn't want her showing off her body to other people and show off what is his. Isn't that the vibe and tone you get when you hear Sala talk about it? And his not so modest wear caught him in trouble going to the sanctuary. Not the sanctuary, not the elephant place. The other place, the one that was all carved and intricate and everything. The one where he put his hands all over everything, like a stupid kid. The modesty, which she called a costume by accident, just within the last couple days, is just that. It's fake. It creates this weird disparity between she's presenting herself... Truth Temple, thank you. Temple missed. Sanctuary took its place in my head. She tries to make it seem like it's all for his sake and she's completely covered and it's just a little bit for her. But Sala wasn't covered up appropriately enough to go to the temple. They made him put on culottes, pedal pushers, pants of some sort, because he wasn't appropriately dressed. So I don't think that kind of thing is important to Sala. I think he knows that no one would be any more attracted if she was in something else to wear. So she might as well just wear plain black with denim, XXL, Ames quality clothes that you don't wash. Hello, Michael. How are you? How are you? but the disparity between wearing the most modest of clothing and yet on the other side, the most not modest behavior. Plus, she had to pick a religion before she started. So if I just idly thought, you know what, the 30,000 in super chats a month is really ruining it for me. What I really need to do is change everything, convert, get into a relationship really quick, move. I mean, she's done all this stuff in less than a year. It usually presents itself to be that she's planned pretty poorly. I mean, that's what it usually looks like to me, that she's planned poorly everywhere she went, either with transportation, getting food. Do I think that she deserves to be able to get around at her size? I live in the West. We accommodate everything. But in other parts of the world, it might not be the same thing. Now, I know that when they went to the temple, she had to take a lift. Everybody else was walking. Princess had to take a lift. It's not because she's so delicate, it's because of the opposite. I think she probably loved waving to people when she was getting ridden on the luggage cart through the airport. Like she's somebody. Like, waving. Like she's, I don't know, Octomom? Whatever. So for someone presenting themselves in the most modest way possible, because again, she can only be covered a little bit more, and it's identifiably Muslim garb, her behavior, which is really at the crux of faith, the faith kind of gives moral guidance and a bit of a compass. She's not interested in that, but she's interested in everything to do with being covered up. And everything to do, the presentation, the illusion that this is what's going on. She's eating non-halal food, and she gets a doctor's note for Allah too, because she has bed. You can't expect her to just eat whatever whenever. If she doesn't eat exactly what she wants in the exact quantities, something might happen. We don't want to take that risk. Okay. Whatever. It reminds me of if I all of a sudden decided to be Jewish. And the first thing I did was come on with a yarmulke and say, I'm not Jewish, but I just have a great appreciation for the culture. And then proceeded to wear it all the time. And then proceeded to get more and more conservative. While at the same time, I'm telling you about my modest religion. I'm showing you how not modest I can be. And now the description for her channel, a revert looking to move on from her past. Barry. Well, Jarella, yeah, I would say nobody can say anything because then it's Islamophobia. Because when it's not fat shaming, just because I call a fat person a name doesn't mean I'm shaming them for being fat. I don't usually have too many insults for Chantal that are about her appearance. She doesn't seem to care if someone thinks she has the credibility and, dignity of a complete asshole. She doesn't care about that. But God forbid you call her fat, she'll be worried. So if someone who's so worried about impression management, isn't that what you think of when you think Chantal? Impression management. She tries to tell people who are watching how to feel. That's why it doesn't work. That's why there's all these other places for people to comment, because she'll only she'll shut down any comment that isn't totally ass-kissing in the comment section. And when you see that someone has 90,000+, and it's going up bit by bit by bit, she hasn't ruined it yet. She gained another 1,500. She's due to lose them. She'll say something, probably an animal thing, and she'll ruin it for herself. She'll go back down in the dip. There's a maximum capacity. Only this many people care enough to subscribe. They've all heard of you. It's not for lack of knowing who you are. It's for lack of interest in what you're doing. That's possible too. As a small channel, and compared to bigger channels, she's a small channel, but we're a very small channel. I don't have these huge expectations of the audience. You try to give them what they want and a little bit of what you like doing. But I think because she relies so heavily on her YouTube income, she's more acutely aware of what makes more and what makes less. This is why when we get towards payday, the cheap-ass home food mukbang videos are what we get, because all of a sudden it's like, oh God, we need to make some more money into the next month. So let's get this in before this date. And then the last eats as much shit as she can. And it's an investment according to her, because if she pays $25 for the food and makes $150 on the video, then it was worth it to her. She thinks it's worth it to anyone. This is the difference from Chantal and other people. She thinks secretly deep down everyone wants to do what she's doing and how she's doing it. Underneath that, nasty fat girl kind of persona is a very hurt and very, very ignored little girl who probably still needs to be slapped. Chantal, I think, did have it rough coming up, but you can't use that forever. Oh my God, forever. It'll go on. She would love therapy if she went there. She could sit there and pick at old wounds for hours. A good therapist would try to get her to move on to the living and to life and that. But Chantal has zero concept of the things that she does that puts distance between her and family, between her and friends, between her and lovers. And I think she's genuinely stumped sometimes that, I don't know. She doesn't seem to get her head around things the way other people do. I've heard people say psychopath, sociopath, certainly cluster B stuff. And I'm just shooting from the hip. I'm not a diagnosing professional. And even if I were, I'm not her diagnosing professional, so I wouldn't, weigh in too heavily. But since I'm just another member of the peanut gallery, something's wrong. Chantal was a brat and very spoiled. Yes, Deborah, that's what I had heard from Shannon, too. She had said that she was mean for the sake of being mean. She was one of the mean girls. The real mean girls probably tortured her, but she was above somebody on the food chain. She'd probably just find the only person less popular than her and pick on them. She used to run around with a hot pack, but what do you want to bet she drove a van then, too? And Chantal would always offer to drive because then they would have to invite you with to come in. And this is where Chantal usually says in her stories from back in the day where she was standing outside smoking, because she used to smoke and she made a big deal about it. I was outside smoking and then I saw this guy and this girl liked this guy that I liked, and then he stopped talking to me and then he followed her and then she got pregnant and she was homeless and doing drugs and I gave her a 20 because I felt bad. No part of that story is enviable for anybody involved. For anybody involved. But she has a also serious issue with women as friends. She can never be a real friend to another woman, I don't think. She can't be happy for other people. She has to decide either she's jealous or they're jealous. But nobody is just happy doing their thing. Chantal has 75% dead subs. I always try to guess by how many views. Is she getting, for 90,000, is she getting at least 9,000 views a video? Something like that. But she's a misogynist. She loves it. She loves it. She has very little use for other women at all. She thinks they're competition, all of them. I can't imagine how she's having to go through having to deal with Sala, especially on holiday, because there's a lot of beautiful women in this world. And some of them may just let you peek at their chin. So it was interesting when she first got there that he was being kind of domineering. Fix your hijab. Remember? Fix your hijab. Potato face. Sala had a cigarette the other day. Yeah, when the mask falls off. I don't know. I still no. Sala seems to have more of a life maybe than Bibi, but she just needs some dork who's going to sit there and play video games all day and pick up her food and put her socks on. At this point, she should really lower her expectations. It's not that somebody couldn't fall in love with her or that she couldn't have, all the kind of moonlight and roses and things like that. It's, I don't know, her content. She had a couple good vlogs that seemed like vlogs. Like they were almost interesting to watch. But then as it went on, she just gets lazier and lazier. And it's a lot of, just because you film 8 hours worth of footage, it doesn't mean you have 8 hours worth of a video. Some of the stuff can get cut. Some of the stuff people don't, I would say at this moment, Deborah, that I would be miserable in her circumstances, I think. Now, I wouldn't get into those circumstances, so I wouldn't have to think about whether or not, Finch, I don't know if anyone's seen The Boil. She had it when she stopped wanting to walk around for a few days, and then miraculously it was healed in time for her to go do something she wanted to do. She's very predictable. She loves the medical excuse, too. She got out of Ramadan because she had a food issue, probably. I can't. Medically, it's not advisable. If I eat any other way than the way I do right now, something bad will happen. What kind of a person would fall in love with her? I don't think I want to know them. There's a lid for every pot. That doesn't mean she's going to have a romantic relationship. She might just have arrangements for the rest of her time. She'll find a guy who gets something out of her and she gets something out of him, and maybe it's not love and romance, but it's better than nothing. And if you look happy, aren't you happy? You can read through Chantal little bits here and there. She has a pretty good face, but you can she has a few tells. And I often thought that Sala wasn't particularly nice to her, but the more you get to know her, you probably get a little more free with the jokes. like when her chin popped out of her hijab. And Salwa said, which one? So, her lid has mold on it, most likely. Why they're there for so damn long. There was some sort of process. They didn't think they must have been going very long. They only brought like a week's worth of clothes because they've been recycling outfits, the two of them. And she said she's washing their stuff in the, he's washing it because she doesn't care if it stinks. So there's a bacterial infection for every girl. There's a green peen too. But which made me think, talking about sex and Nader and Chantal, she had mentioned adoption in one of her lives, just briefly. No child should suffer her. She would be the kind of person who thinks I make a great income so I could give a child a good life. Well, maybe, if she wasn't spending it all on herself. She could. But she was barely there with the cats. They might be getting real married. Thailand was mentioned very shortly after she got there on her video about them. If they wanted to get married, they had to travel, both of them, to another country neither of them are from, and that the laws were malleable enough that they could do that, and I guess it would be recognized once they return to Kuwait. Boy, love is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Just beautiful. I always thought she'd go back on the marriage thing because, there's married in the eyes of Allah and married in the eyes of the law. And she's deliberately vague on that because if she goes back later and it's like, you were never married, she was like, we had a ceremony, a religious ceremony, okay? I'm Muslim. It counts, all right? So there. And again, use it as Islamophobia. People are shaming me for getting married as a Muslim woman. No, Muslim doesn't have anything to do with it. Because you could have tried to cosplay any religion. So, everybody was up for fair game. And she said herself this week, this costume. I think she maybe thought about the clown shirts that she puts on before they go out. And her fashion and her costume was on top of that. And all her really cool hats. The really, really, really cool hats, right? Whatever. So she did a plus size clothing haul. Hey, Lonnie. And just so we're all clear, she's not plus size. Certainly, like a run waist plus size is 10. Now, those are all very, very small. But I've seen large women who dress like they're Muslims too. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. That's between them and Allah. And the clothes look, even though they're larger, they look flattering in a way that looks clean. Not flattering like skin tight. Maybe the head would be covered, a scarf going this way, and some modest colored clothing, something more like that. She, aside from the abaya, she would have to order her clothes there unless she went to like a seamstress or something. And the idea that she found a faith where she can cover herself up with layers and layers and layers of shit, there's going to be a trade-off. You're going to get blisters and boils, and if you don't wash that bodysuit regularly, it's going to stink bad. Enough for Salwa to say something. She may believe she was actually married. Who knows what kind of certificate he showed her. Sure. You never know. And she's so dick hungry, she'd be like, okay, whatever, we're married, right? Right? See, you guys are jealous, I'm married. If 13-year-olds could marry, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, the way she wears the hijab, she wears it incorrectly. The most important thing about her faith to her is the outfit. Of course, the most shallow display of faith is that. And when I say shallow, I don't mean it's shallow for people who practice and dress that way, but to her, it's a joke. She doesn't have a deep bone in her body. It's a joke. Islam. A couple weeks before that, she thought she was gay. She was going to go to Pride with us gays. All of a sudden, she fancied herself a big old bag hag and thought that she was going to... There are no Chantal hags. The haters are the hags. They're the ones who watch all the videos and check out how she's doing. I don't know. Amber Lynn Reed built her fortune off the backs of her haters. Chantal should... She doesn't have enough lovers to offset the haters. So... I don't know. We'll see when she comes back. She's bound to be back in Canada at some point. We'll see if Sala comes with. Because once it's touchdown, when Sala touches down in Canada, this shit is over. Completely over. Gayark was trying to get Natter back. What? Just that's because she, like, having a romantic, if you, whatever, or just a good time, safe sexual encounter is one thing. But she was, like, happily taking sloppy seconds. Like, she thought so little of herself that she would throw herself at the feet of that man and compete with Dee Dee. And the fact that she lost was a riot. I think she couldn't fathom that she lost her man to Dee Dee. So then it turns into he's not a good man to know. You know, when she was showing his face off, remember he was going to be a chef? And he was going to, what did he play? Magic tricks. That was the first debut. Well, his teeth showed up first. Natter's first debut was the magic tricks. And she brought it up to here, totally by accident, I'm sure. And that's where people initially, you could see his teeth. Yeah, she thought she could steal him back, Sandra. No. No. If you've broken up with Chantal, you have had damn good reasons, I think. So, her ego is destroyed if someone doesn't want her. Yeah, like I used to date, and it's a bummer if someone you like doesn't like you, but you don't then rearrange your identity to make yourself desirable to somebody else. She would never attract the kind of guy she has now, running around her apartment bald in her underwear. But, you know, when you gotta leave Canada, you gotta leave Canada. You know, whatever it is worth a trade. Whatever she's doing, whatever's making the boils okay, whatever's letting her sit inside for 6 months and not deal with it, whatever it is worth it to her somehow. You know, she'll probably die trying to one-up haters by, I don't know, skydiving. Something big that she'll try to do. So, we'll see when she gets back, you know, to Canada. She had already said, adios, bitch. She had said when she was talking about edibles, because that had come up last week too. You know, I'm not doing them now because I'm here, but in other places in the world, they might be available. So, okay, laws change. Islam isn't different in Canada than it is. The books are pretty much the same. So, I mean, there's variations among those within the faith, but from the outside looking, no. And she's a spectacle, which she was in Canada, but because she's out during daylight hours now, it's a little more obvious. You can see people in the background, and she's a conspicuous person. You know, I'm 6 feet tall. Proportionately, I'm 11 inches taller, and she's 250 pounds overweight. If I was about 400, 500, no, if I was 400, we weigh the same. I'm 220-something right now. So Chantal is 180 pounds heavier than I am. At least. Nothing about that's enviable. I wouldn't care if I could pay for, just because you can buy an experience doesn't mean you're having it. Like, yeah, she flew to Kuwait. She went out a few times and has been staying in for the rest of the time. People would be jealous of a Middle Eastern year of travel and seeing things and food and doing stuff and all that. You know, usually when Mark and I take a vacation, even if it's like a week and we're out of town, one of those days we'll probably stay in, get takeout, you know, eat junk food and rent movies and not go out and see whatever we traveled all that way for. But that's like one day out of a week just to, you know, get yourself together. You can see when I gained 5 pounds. Yeah, she's only 5'1", or maybe 5'2" in shoes. So, seems to be taking a strange turn. Why are there secrets on travel? It's safe to be anywhere, but I don't know. We'll see. The last gasp of trolling from the Music Biz Marty was just to say to Chantal, he was on a panel with Kaya, and he said, don't go back to Kuwait. So whatever he thought was within his control on his end to do to make her life in Kuwait less comfortable, he's either just torturing her with the idea, or he's done something. And Chantal's probably had her fill of people dipping in to her personal life that she shows and monetizes. I just want you guys to believe everything I say, not ask questions and pay me money, okay? It's not a lot to ask, all right? 5'1" and 123. I was always known as the fat kid. Yeah, height's not forgiving like that, and she's gonna be immobile. You know, Chantal gets away with a lot, but physics being physics, Gravity being gravity and 400 pounds being a lie. She's eventually going to hit the ground and not get back up. The position she's in when she sits to mukbang is the same way a bunch of folks sit on their bed in 600-pound life, with the legs spread out so the stomach can hit down, and eventually the stomach kind of becomes the thing to set things on. So, Brandy, yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to find out too much. When Salo will step up, man up, and take charge. She wouldn't want a man like that. She'd want a man like that in bed, but not in her day-to-day life. You know, I think she probably liked Natter because he was aggressive in that way. She blurred it together with, you know, domination, low self-esteem, erotic stuff, monogamy, social diseases, and I don't know. I would hate to think Chantal is so clueless, but I hope she didn't think that just because she had a hysterectomy, she can't catch an STD. You know, condoms aren't for just the big one. You know, you can get something else terminal. You can get a few other things terminal. And I was young and wild, but even I didn't stay with the guy who gave me crabs, okay? Even I left at that point. So, you know, you have to draw your line somewhere. If you'll accept that kind of behavior, then you will. If you'll accept your husband being mean to you, you'll let anyone talk to you that way. Or you'll go out into the world to try to be a boss lady and then turn into a quivering bitch at home. Chantal's on-camera and off-camera self are most likely very, very different. Accusing someone to fill out some agency or accusing her of ridiculous things. She did enough for ridiculous things. There's probably enough without exaggeration if you really got a good attorney. Her milking a flawed system doesn't surprise me, but people do it. So if there's loopholes, she said loopholes specifically when she got there about being there. And does Saleh own enough of the company that he allegedly owns to do all these other different sorts of things? Because he's, you know, he's Syrian. He's not from Kuwait. So I'm curious as to how they're going to try to sort that out. I don't know. For this long there, they don't want to be there as long as they're there. And the Boyle thing, I don't really believe. I think they just need to stay longer. So, or she's trying to provide context for how they're broke even after staying there for this long. Because YouTube payday isn't for another week or so. It's a long time between now and then to go to 7-Eleven. You're going to have to start, you know what you do when you're broke at 7-Eleven? I lived in Philly. You go get a soft pretzel, and then you go over to where they make hot dogs, and you put cheese and chili and jalapenos and a ton of shit into a cup, and then go check out. The pretzels were 50 cents. Toppings are free. You do it until they put a sign up, pretty much. So that's my trick for 7-Eleven. But I don't know. I'm not sure where this is going to leave us, honestly, going ahead. The adoption, they're in Thailand. The hey babe, I know it's not new, it's not worth, hey babe, this is, it sounds very scripted, and I don't know if maybe she tells him how to say it in English, and then he repeats it back, whether he's actually learned some more English, because you know damn well she didn't learn any part of his language. Not interested, not about me. If he didn't speak English, they wouldn't be dating. And she would make zero effort to probably try to learn anything beyond hello, goodbye, and, you know, the names of a few dishes, and maybe a couple outfits. But it's like, it's a show. So when's the show gonna end? I don't know. Myself. Beyond awkward, Cindy, between the two of them. So, sick of them in time. I know, T-Dub. Don't worry, plenty of people have a great time when they go to Thailand. You don't have to have a horrible time like she did. You could go prepared with a map, ideas of food you want to eat, things you want to try. It seems like they got to their hotel and just looked at the brochures in the lobby, and it's like, oh, we'll go do this today. You know. She could only read a menu in Arabic. Ooh, shady. Yeah. She said in Thailand it was harder because not everything was in English. So you're telling me she sorted through and made sure she got halal everything when she's ordering just by pointing at the menu. So, I don't know. I don't see her staying in Thailand. I know she wants to travel, but even people that travel for a living have some sort of home base, even if it's just a family friend's house that you stay in between trips for a month or so. You know, she's not going to be bringing it in like that to do too many more trips like this. And if she wants to get some more super chats, she's going to have to fix that attitude. People are beyond sending her $2 to tell her to fuck off. You know, she's going to need to try to have to come up with a little bit more. And she's not finding her people, whoever she thought would be interested in this. They're not there. You know, there was a handful of comments in her edited comments section on the Foodie Beauty channel, and then some on the couples channel too. But she didn't gain this mass following of people who want to see her as a shining light and someone to follow and live and grow and be inspired by. Jealous that I couldn't go to Thailand with the money in my account now? Yes. Jealous that I can't reach my own feet? No. Not even a little. Would not trade it. I'm not trying to be an altruistic, money isn't everything, but certainly health and happiness is more than just a few bucks. You know? Like, isn't it? Am I too small town? Do I just not get it? I don't know. Maybe I'm too naive. But I'd like to be happy too. Like, says she's happy now. She's not. But she says she's happy now because she has everything. I have a man. We have a Santa Fe. We have pets. We have a little family. Blah, 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 blah. So he knew he wasn't getting a kid out of her unless she told him that the rumors of her infertility were lies and that he can't trust what any of us say. When she poisons him with saying you can't trust any reaction channels, all of a sudden she just put herself and them that far apart. So, no, she's proof money doesn't make you happy. You know, and she's not filthy. People with real money would laugh at Chantal. People who have fuck everybody, not just fuck you money, fuck everybody money, would have no use for Chantal. They would consider probably a waste. What a waste of life. You could have spent 4 wonderful weeks in Thailand. Instead, just schlep around to the 7-Eleven and sleep. Like, where's all the happy pictures? All the stuff they've made vlogs off of could have been filmed in about 6 hours. So I don't know what they're doing the rest of the time. A normal functioning person doesn't behave like that at 40. No, they don't. And Salva's a different kind of immature than she is. Her immaturity is more of the petulant, you know, defiant, don't tell me what to do, will totally cut off her nose to spite her face, like that kind of thing. Sala seems to think everything is his. Every museum is a please touch museum to that child. Everyone goes in, pets this, touches that. That stuff is worth more than your life. That's a piece of history. This is a piece of a vlog. You know, keep your hands to yourself. It's the kind of guy that would like walk up behind a woman and touch her hair without asking. And be like, oh, you have nice hair. Don't fucking touch me. And if you want to do it, come at my face. So I have time to tell you no. The folly of excess. Yeah, Jarella, that about sums it up. They could put that on the headstone. Fix the apartment, got a table. I would have bought something. Taken the travel money and bought something. Buy a house they can't throw you out of. You know, and the fact that you would mention the Canadian government is crippling its people with tax. Like, it hurt her. She didn't pay any. What's it to her? Trying to write things off as a business expense. Oh, this trip is a business expense. Oh, this meal is a business expense. You don't pay taxes. What the fuck do you care? They were all tax-free for years. For years, you played with 1.5, maybe twice the amount of money that she actually would have had coming in. Her net would have been quite different had she actually paid her part. Chantal was on the higher end income-wise for the general population, and taxes are high in Canada because social services are a little more prevalent. So they gotta get paid from somewhere. So I can see not liking taxes, but you can't get away from that. We have taxes. A lot of places have taxes. Sometimes they have high taxes, sometimes they have low taxes. People move for a favorable tax thing. Putting on her tax debt, Sala's never going to Canada. I think he thinks he is, and I think she's sure he's not, but I'm telling you, once they hit touchdown, it'll be like Wile E. Coyote, running away right off the tarmac. He'll be gone, never see you again, and then he'll be a citizen. And there's no takesies, backsies. Like, if she gets her butt hurt, she's gonna try to turn it around and be like, well, I'll revoke your citizenship. And you know, she needs her leverage. She's always needed her leverage. She needs receipts. She's not gonna get him on recorder probably saying the kind of stuff Natter used to do or say, but she's gonna hit a breaking point. She's gonna find this boring. Chantal is a drama queen and likes to have a good time. She's gonna find this boring. This is just the lead up to an even larger explosion, which I don't know. Maybe we'll go to Ibiza next. and sit in your room the whole time and Google glow sticks to be kind of involved in what's going on. Peek out the window with your camera. You're really involved. I'm totally cool with the idea that she wants to travel. It's a good thing, and I think with people with more means, more people would travel if they weren't held down by things like jobs and other stuff. There's other people who incorporate their work and their fun, and those people tend to be the happiest. They tend to make more because they're happy doing what they're doing and they get to be good at it. But her going all over the world sweating through everything she touches is not going to last. People aren't going to watch it. I'm not going to, who's going to see it? If nothing changes. But its channel still has to be interesting. She only pulled in, what did they pull in? It was like 10,300. Last I checked, it went back over 10,000 subs on the couple channel. But not too much over that. And they've been putting the high view content over there to try to drum it up, which is, you do whatever. But doing that is too much work for Chantal. It's easier for her to make one outrageous video that gets a ton of views than to put out 3 that take a lot of work. And there's something to be said for working smart and not hard, but the videos are crappy. I watch vloggers and they don't do that. They'll show you the menu, they'll show you the street, they add some music behind it. It brings you in. It's like a whole video experience. It's not just, here's pictures of the shit we did. Chantal's vlogs are the equivalent of bumping into me at the supermarket, opening your purse and showing me photos, and then calling that a tour. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm disenchanted, as usual. A little less optimistically cheerful for her, but I don't know. I used to feel bad for Sala, now I don't. I never felt bad for Natter. It's been said, though, I don't necessarily co-sign this, that the only reason to be jealous of Natter is because he had the satisfaction of slapping her in the face. Somebody said that in a chat one time, and I was like, that is so wrong and so right. And so wrong and so right and so wrong. You know what I mean? I don't know. But Sala's going to get bored with this eventually. He's still kind of young. A 40-year-old with our life together would have no use for Chantal. She's got to find some Arrested Development, late 20s, man-child who's wearing my sister's t-shirts to travel. Whatever. It won't last. The question is, when and how will it end? That's it. And I'm not waiting for something bad to happen to her. I know something bad's going to happen to her. It'll be what and when. It's not a matter of if. So, I'm glad you came, Deborah. Thanks. Yeah, we'll be wrapping up. About a minute now. So thank you guys for coming. It was a long day. So thank you for indulging me in the chat. I hope I was able to catch you up adequately. This week had a lot of things jump out that kind of made my eyes cross. Didn't like the tiger thing. Was lukewarm about the elephant sanctuary, honestly. And then repeatedly going to American restaurants, Canadian fast food, all that kind of stuff. That would be the vlog. That's why she has to plan these extra day tips, because the day-to-day would just be, did you go to 7-Eleven today? No, I ordered. They brought it. And sit there and have hot dogs on a stick and cheese and all sorts of other bullshit. And then explain how she's taking in so much culture. Whatever. So thank you all for joining, and thank you all for watching today. Please do hit the thumbs up, if you'd be so kind, on your way out. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You get alerts when we have new videos and when we go live. You can follow us on Facebook, SmokeySteveAndMarc. On Twitter, SmokeySteveA. Instagram, SmokeySteveAndMarc1 word. Email address, all the contact info is below as well. Thank you guys for chatting. You guys are a good group. It was a nice chat. Thank you, lurkers. Thank you, mods. Thank you all for coming, everyone who was chatting. And we'll be live again tomorrow night. Our usual Sunday live is at 6 o'clock. It was open chat, so she comes up, but anything can come up. All right, y'all. Thank you very much, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Bye. Say goodbye, Mark. He's in the garden. Bye from Mark.